It was very difficult for me to comprehend the passage, what the author was trying to say, and then attempt the questions with a high accuracy.
For the past year at InsideIIM, we have been conducting one-on-one career coaching sessions as counsel, short domain-specific courses as masterclasses, and university-affiliated certificate programs. Now, we are extremely excited to announce that we have a new home for all these highly rated programs in altuni.in. So, if you are looking to earn a high salary, get a promotion, switch jobs, click on the link in the description or just visit altuni.in. Thank you, enjoy the video, and don't forget to press the bell icon to never miss an update. Cheers.
Hello everyone, my name is Archit Kapoor. I am born and brought up in Panipat and I have done my schooling from Palvika School. I had 10 CGPA in class 10 and 98.2% in class 12. Then I went on to pursue BCom Honours from SRCC and currently I am in my final year. I scored 99.28 percentile in CAT 2020 and I'll be joining IIM Lucknow this year. I had decided in my pre-final year that I would want to go for an MBA right after my graduation because I had observed that there was a major difference in the roles that what were offered to undergraduate students and the roles that were offered post-MBA. So I felt that the roles offered post-MBA were much more relevant and allowed an individual to create a bigger impact in the organization that he or she is working for. So I began with my CAT preparation around mid of April and I had good 7 to 8 months to prepare for CAT, and I felt that this time period was enough for me. If I would be regular and consistent with my preparation, then I could do very well in CAT. So what I did was I initially gave a mock without appearing for any of the classes so that I can get an idea of what kind of questions come in CAT and how I can devise my preparation plan better. So after giving a mock, what I observed was that I was fairly comfortable in quant. Now coming on to DILR, so I felt that I enjoyed solving the DILR puzzles, and this was one section where everybody would be starting at the same level, and the one who can solve the diverse kind of set would be the one who would end up getting a high percentile. Now talking about the verbal part, so in VARC I struggled because I did not have a reading habit and I found it extremely difficult to go through the passage having the same concentration level that I have at the beginning, and it was very difficult for me to comprehend the passage, what the author was trying to say, and then attempt the questions with a high accuracy. So these were the things that I observed very early on in my preparation and devised my preparation plan accordingly. So after recognizing these areas, I decided that I have to focus a bit more on VARC, and for that I made sure that I would develop a reading habit to increase my concentration level. So I made sure that I read editorials of Hindu and Economic Times and some articles on the internet as well, to improve on my reading habit and to also increase my speed so that I can cover more passages in the less time frame. Also about the verbal ability part, I tried to solve some odd one out questions, some parajumbles and some summary questions on every alternate day. So just to get a hang of how to approach these questions and how I can increase my accuracy level. So now talking about DILR. So DILR, as I mentioned, that my strategy was to focus on diverse kind of sets. So I did that only. I tried to solve diverse kinds of sets, like I solved a set from Venn diagram, then I solved a set from pie chart or bar chart, then I went on to solve a set from linear arrangement or circular arrangement, so that I can cover diverse topics and get a hang of how to approach the diverse kind of sets that would be coming in the CAT exam. Talking about quants, so quants I feel is one section of the CAT exam where the syllabus is somewhat defined and every CAT aspirant can come up with a structured preparation plan according to his or her strengths and weaknesses. So for me, quants was my strongest section and I tried to cover the basic concepts of each and every topic in the shortest possible time. And I also focused on concept clarity because I had one thing in my mind that even if a difficult question appears from a particular topic, and if I'm clear with my concepts, I was confident that I would be able to solve that question correctly. And I was also focusing on revising, visiting back to some of the topics that I found a bit difficult. My most of the preparation also depended on mocks as well. I began giving mocks in the last week of June on a regular basis. I gave mock once every week, and which I later on increased to twice a week and even 2-3 times a week from late September till November only. So after giving a few mocks, I sort of realized that my scores in VARC was extremely fluctuating. Sometimes I ended up getting decent scores, but I sometimes was not even able to clear the sectional cutoff. So for VARC, I realized that this is the section that where I need to devote my most of the time, because I was sure that if I am able to get 90 to 92 percentile in VARC, I can easily compensate it with my other two sections which were much stronger when compared to VARC. So now for VARC, I started giving sectional tests. I tried different strategies on how I was going to approach this section in the CAT exam. So I tried different strategies. Sometimes I attempted all the RCs and ended up attempting only 3 or 5 verbal ability questions. Sometimes I started with the verbal ability part and ended up attempting only 2 or 3 RCs. So I tried different strategies and finally came up with a strategy that worked very well for me. So the strategy that I used in the CAT exam was that in the starting of the section, I used to read the first and the last paragraph of each of the RCs, and I made sure that I would leave around 15 minutes for the verbal ability part. And by practicing with this strategy in the coming mocks as well as sections, I was not only able to increase the number of attempts in the section, but gradually with practice, my accuracy also increased. For DILR, I observed that it was not easy to attempt all the questions that come in the section in the given time frame, and what is the key in this section is to choose the right kind of sets. So if you end up picking a difficult set and you end up spending say 10 to 12 minutes and getting only 2 or 3 questions of that set correct, so you would be losing on the time that others would have spent on solving the easy questions. So picking the right set is the key in this section. So I devised my strategy along the similar lines. So like in VARC, I used to spend initial 6 to 7 minutes for reading all the kinds of sets that come in the section, and I divided the sets in 3 categories. The first one being that were very easy and I would surely attempt them in the first go, and the second one being that with which I was confident that if I spend a bit of time I would be able to get all the questions correct, and the third category was that if I was left with time I would attempt 1 or 2 questions and try to get them correct so that I can improve my score. And now coming to quants, so I was able to solve decent amount of questions, but one thing that was pulling my scores down was the amount of silly mistakes that I made. So that was happening basically because I was not in the habit of solving questions in a given time frame. So to deal with this, I made sure that I would now start solving the questions by setting up a timer. So I used to set a timer for 10 minutes and tried solving 5 to 6 questions in that time frame, so that it will also help me in increasing my speed. The other thing that I struggled in quants was that I usually ended up spending a lot of time in the initial questions, which left me with very less time for the questions that appeared in the later part of the section, which sometimes were fairly easy and could have been solved in less than 30 seconds time also. I ended up losing on those questions because of the excess time that I spent on the initial question. So to deal with this, I devised the strategy that I would approach the quant section in 2 rounds. In the first round, I would solve only those questions which I had an idea or I had solved them while practicing or covering the basic concepts of each and every topic. And in the second round, I used to leave 20 minutes for the second round, and in that round I solved questions which were on a bit difficult side, and I was able to solve good 8 to 9 questions, which again not only increased my attempts but also helped me in curbing down my silly mistakes. So for quants, this strategy also worked well for me. While it is important to give mocks on a regular basis, it is all the more important to analyze those mocks as soon as the solutions become available. And also you should utilize all the tools that are available along with the solutions. So to name a few, one thing is the average time analysis. So the time spent by others on a particular question versus the time spent by you on that question. So if you end up spending a lot more time than what other people did on that question, probably you should revisit those topics and practice some questions of that particular concept so that you don't lose on the crucial time that others are saving in those topics. The other important thing that you should look at while analyzing mocks is the video solution, and perhaps this is the most important thing that helped me in devising my strategy. So I'll tell you a bit of how video solution helped me in each of the three sections. So for VARC, while looking at the video solutions, I tried to understand how the person providing the solution was reading the passage and trying to comprehend what the author was saying, and how he approached the questions that followed the passage. So I incorporated that in my strategy, and it helped me in improving my accuracy as well. For DILR and QUANTs, I feel that I looked at the video solutions to get an idea of whether there was a better method to solve the questions than what I did, and was it possible to solve those questions in a less time than what I spent. So in the last week of September, we got to know that now the CAT exam will be of 2 hours instead of the usual 3, and it came as a shock to every CAT 2020 aspirant, because by then we had already devised a strategy on how we are going to approach the CAT exam. So initially we felt quite demotivated, and also we didn't know on the number of questions that would come in the actual exam. So for this period, what I focused on was on how I can utilize those 40 minutes in each section efficiently. And instead of worrying about the number of questions, I was confident that if I can utilize those 40 minutes in an efficient manner, I can do fairly well on the D-Day, irrespective of the number of questions that come in the actual exam. So I gave mocks of different number of questions, but with the prime focus on devising a strategy on utilizing those 40 minutes in a structured manner. So for VARC, I left 10 minutes for the verbal ability part and 30 minutes for the RC. For DILR, I used the same strategy for scanning all the sets and then dividing them into the 3 categories that I had earlier come up with. And for QUANTs, I followed a similar strategy of going in 2 rounds. So I feel that focusing on those 40 minutes helped me a lot in cracking the CAT exam. The advice that I would like to give all the CAT aspirants would be that if you are not able to do well in a particular section, don't carry that baggage to the other 2 sections, because then it will be a high probability that you will hamper your performance in the other sections as well. It is extremely important to start a particular section with a fresh mind and try to maximize your score in that particular section. The other thing is that even if you're not able to get decent score in your mocks at this point of time, don't lose hope and feel demotivated, because you still have the time to work on your weak areas, and if you prepare in a consistent manner and regularly, you can do fairly well in your CAT exam.